and welcome to Gate Academy. I hope I'm audible and visible. Please let me know in the comment section for the confirmation that my voice is clear and I'm clearly visible. Hello everyone, a very good evening. Okay, now in this session we are going to solve some more questions based on the percentage, and here we have the very first question. A and B spends 90% and 80% of their income. If the total income of them is rupees 1500 and the ratio of their savings is 3:4, then find the income of A. What we have to do, we simply have to find out the income of A out of 1500 rupees. Out of 1500 rupees, what we have to do, we have to find out the income of A if the saving ratio of A and B are in the ratio 3:4. Manish, you can follow R.S. Agarwal. How do we calculate the income of A? Sorry. How do we calculate the income of A? Anyone in the comment section? Okay, let's start. Here it is given that A spends 90% of his income. That means 90% is the expenditure of A, right? If 90% expenditure, then he is saving only 10% out of his income, right? Similarly, in B, it is given that he spends 80% of his income and saves only 20%, and the ratio of their savings is given. So we can say that A saves 10% of his income and B saves 20% of his income, and they are in the ratio of 3:4. We can solve this. How do we solve this? We simply eliminate this term by 4 and we get 5 over here, and we eliminate this term by 2 and we get the ratio of A by B as 3:2. Here we get the ratio of their income. This is the ratio of their income. So if we want to write the ratio of A and B, or we can say if we want to write the income ratio of A and B, we can write it as 3:2. That means it is on the multiple of 5. But it is given that their total income is nothing but that is equal to 1500 rupees. That means the value of 5 over here is 1500 rupees. That is on the multiple of 300. Now what we have to do, we have to find out the income of A. That means we have to multiply this term by 300 so that we can get the income of A, and that is equal to 900 rupees. That is equal to 900 rupees. If we have to calculate the income of B as well, then that is equal to 600 rupees. Then that is equal to 600 rupees. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone how we calculated the income of A as well as B in this question? A very good evening to all of you. Okay, now let's move to the next question. Question number 2. Here we have question number 2 and here we have options as well for this question. On the same price of prepaid card, Airtel gave 20% less internet data than BSNL. Here we have two internet service provider, Airtel and BSNL, and there's a comparison of data given by these internet service provider on the prepaid card. On the same price of postpaid card, BSNL and Airtel give 10% and 12.5% less data than prepaid card. Now there is a comparison with prepaid card. Then find out how much less percentage data given by Airtel than BSNL on postpaid. Now what we have to calculate? We have to calculate how much less percentage data given by Airtel than BSNL on postpaid. We have to calculate the data on the basis of postpaid. How do we calculate this? Here we have two service provider. The first one is BSNL and the second one is Airtel. What is the correct answer of question number 2? Anyone? Okay. It is given that on the same price of prepaid card. Here we are talking about the prepaid card. It is given that Airtel give 20% less internet data. That means if we take BSNL as 100% or we take the value as 100 with the BSNL, that means Airtel gave only 80, or we can say the 80%, 20% less data, 20% less data. Okay. Now it is given that on the same price of the postpaid card. Now we have to consider postpaid card. It is given that BSNL and Airtel gave 10% less. 10% less, that means what is the value of 10% of 100? That means that is equal to 100. Sorry, that means that is equal to 10. That means BSNL giving 90% or 90 data on the postpaid card, where on the Airtel it is minus 12.5%. That means we can say it is equal to 1 by 8. If this value is equal to 1 by 8, that means this is 8, right? That means this value is 8. So the data given by Airtel in postpaid card is nothing but that is equal to 72. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate how much less percentage data given by Airtel than BSNL on the postpaid card. On the postpaid card. Okay. Wait. This is equal to 8. We have to calculate 1 by 8 of 80. That is equal to 10, not 8. So here we get the value as 70, and the difference between these two, that is equal to 20. Now we have to calculate on the basis of BSNL. So how do we calculate it? 20 by 90. 20 by 90 into 100. When we solve this, we will get our value as 22.22%. 22.22%, that is equals to option number C. As we see, 9 in the denominator, what we will get, what we will remember, we remember 11 1 by 9%, which is written as 1 by 9 in the fraction. If we multiply this term by 2, if we multiply this term by 2, what we will get? We will get 22 2 by 9. And here we get 2 by 9. And what we have to do, we have to convert this 2 by 9 in the percentage. So we will get our answer as 22 2 by 9% as our answer. That means option number C is the correct one. Option number C is the correct one. Is it clear? Option number C is the correct one. Is it clear to everyone? Okay. Now let's move to the next question, question number 3. If it is assumed that the number of seats in GATE Academy class is equal to the number of learners in the class, on a particular day there were 35 learners in the class and which were filled 71 3 by 7% of the total capacity. Then find out the maximum number of learners can be seated in GATE Academy, not class, GATE Academy. We have to calculate the maximum numbers of learners that can be seated in GATE Academy. Yes, Kelvin. How do we calculate this? How do we calculate this? We have to find out the maximum numbers of learners. Okay. First of all, just tell me, how do I write 71 3 by 7% into fraction? How do I write 71 3 by 7% into percentage? What is the value of 71 3 by 7% into percentage? Five by 7. Very good, Harsh. When I see 7 in the denominator, what I'll recall, I recall my 14 2 by 7%, which is written as 1 by 7 in the fraction. And when I multiply this term by 5, because I know when I multiply 14 into 5, I'll get 70 is my answer, which is nearly equal to 71. So when I multiply this term by 14, what I'll get? I simply get 70. 10 by 7 as my answer. I'll get 70, 10 by 7 as my answer. I can write this term as 77 plus 3 by 7, right? I can also write 77 by 7 as 77 plus 3 by 7. And when I see this term, I know this term will give me 1, which is shifted over here and it turns into 71 3 by 7. That means if we multiply this term by 5, now we have to multiply this term by 5 as well, and we will get it as 5 by 7. That means I can write 71 3 by 7 as 5 by 7 in the fraction. As 5 by 7 in the fraction. Now it is given that on a particular day, there were 35 learners in the class. There were 35 learners in the class which were filled 71 3 by 7% of the total capacity of a single class. That means we can say if the total students that is equal to 7 on that particular day, which is equal to 71 3 by 7 of the total capacity, that means on that particular day 5 students are present out of 7. I can simply say that. So if I write the ratio between the total students in the class, in a single class, to the students in that particular day, students on particular day. So I can write that ratio as 7:5. But it is given that on that particular day 35 students are present. That means the value of 5 is not 5, that is equal to 35. That is present on the multiple of 7. Now what we have to do, just to calculate the total number of students in a single class, we have to multiply this value as 7 and we will get 49 students in a single class. Now, it is given that in the very first line, the number of seats in the GATE Academy class, in a single class, the number of seats is equal to the number of learners in the class. Now, what we have to do, we have to calculate the maximum number of students can be seated in GATE Academy. So, in one class, 49 students can be seated and there are 49 classes as well. So what we have to do, we have to multiply 49 by 49 and we will get our answer as 2401. That means option number D is the correct answer. Option number D is the correct answer. A very good evening. Why 49 into 49? Sham, it is given that the number of seated in GATE Academy class, in a single class there are 49 seats, right? Because we calculated the total number of students in a class. There are 49 students, that means there are 49 seats in a single class and it is equal to the number of learners in a class. That means if we are talking about there are 49 learners and we have 49 classes. So what we have to do, we have to calculate the maximum number of students that can be seated. If we have 49 students in a class and we have 49 classes, so the maximum number of strength, that is equal to 49 into 49. Here we have to calculate the maximum number. So the maximum number, that should be equal to 49 cross 49. 5 by 7. Okay. Here we have 71 3 by 7%, right? What we have 71 3 by 7. As I see 7 in the denominator, I simply recall my 14 2 by 7%, which is written as 1 by 7 in the fraction. We already learned this, right? Now, what we have to do, we have to convert this 14 into 71. So, this is not the direct multiple of 14. So, we calculate the nearest multiple. And we all know when we multiply 14 by 5, we will get 70 is my answer. So, what we will do, we simply multiply this term by 5 just to get my answer as 70. 10 by 7%. And now this value will become 5 by 7 as we multiplied by 5, right? So if I break this value as 77 plus 3 divided by 7, we know this value will give me 1, which is shifted over here, and this will become 70 plus 1, 3 by 10, sorry 3 by 7, and which is equal to 71, 3 by 7. Sunny, now it's clear? Okay. Now let's move to the next question, that is question number 4. In a lab, there are 20 books in Hindi, 50 books of the remaining are in English, and 30% of the remaining books are in French. Rest 5,600 are regional books. Then find out the total number of books present in the lab. This is a very simple question. We have to calculate the total number of books which are present in a lab. How do we calculate this? Uh, Very good, Chatterjee. Let's see. Let's suppose I am having just 100 books in my lab. I just assume this value, right? And out of these 100 books, 20% of them, out of these 100 books, 20% of them, that means 20 books are in Hindi. Now I am left with 80% book, or we can say with the 80 books, right? Now these are my remaining books. Now out of 80, 50% of them, that means if I calculate the 50% value of 80, it is given that out of 80, 40 books are in English. 40 books are in English. Now the remaining books are, that is again equal to 50% of the 80, that means now we are left with 40 books, right? Now it is given that 30% of the remaining books. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the 30% of 40. That means if I calculate the 30% of 40, that is equal to 12. Now out of 100 books, if I am having 100 books, 12 books out of them are of French. These books are of French. Now I am left with how much books? I am left with 28 books. And these books are regional books. These are regional books. But according to question, we have 5,600 regional books. That means the value of 28 is nothing but that is equal to 5,600. That means it is present on the multiple of 200. Now what we have to do, we have to find out the total number of books. That means we have to multiply this value by 200 just to calculate the total number of books. That means it is equal to 20,000 books. That means the correct option over here is option number B. So the correct option over here is option number B. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone? Okay, now let's move to the next question. Here we have 4 students, A, B, C and D. They secured 560 marks. B, C and D secured 460% of A, while the marks of A, C and D is 366, 2 by 3% of B, and C secured 40% of the marks of A, B and D. Then find out the marks of D. What we have to do, we have to calculate the marks of D. Read down, read carefully, read this question very carefully. It is given that the sum of their marks, that means the sum of A, B, C and D, that is equal to 560%. That is equal to 560%. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the marks scored by D. How do we calculate the marks of D? Okay, according to question, it is given that the marks scored by B plus C plus D, that is equal to 460% of, and I can write percent as 1 divided by 100 of A, and it is given that the marks scored by A plus C plus D, that is equal to 366, 2 by 3% of B. And C secured 40% of the A, B and C. So we can write third equation as, now read this line carefully, C secured 40%. If I can write it as, I can write it like A plus B plus D, that is equal to what? C secured 40% of them. So I can write it as 40 by 100, that is equal to C. I can write it as like this. So what is the value of D over here? Or how do I calculate the value of D in this question? We have 3 equations, or I can say the total 4 equations, and we have 4 variables. Anyone in the comment section? Okay, let's start. I can write this value as B plus C plus D by A is equals to 460 by 100. I can write it like this, right? Okay, 1 minute more. We have four equations, four simple equations, and we have four variables. Very good, Rajendra Prasad. A equals to 100. Very good. What is the value of B over here? Sham, okay, 100. Let's see. B is 316. Let's see, Sunny. B is equal to 120. Very good. Okay. First, we consider the very first equation which we have, that is equal to B plus C plus D, that is equals to 460% of A. I can write this equation as B plus C plus D, that is equals to 460 by 100, and I shifted this A over here, right? I can write this equation like this, right? Now we have two options. I either eliminate this and then add it, or I can directly add it. If I add all these value A plus B plus C plus D, if I add both these value, I'll get 560 as my answer. 460 plus 100, 560. And all we know, the sum of marks scored by A plus C plus D as per question, that is also equal to 560. That means they are on the multiple of 1. So I can write the value of A from this. A secured 100 marks. A secured 100 marks. Or I can also write it like B plus C plus D divided by A. I can simply eliminate this like 23 by 5, right? And I can write it as, if the sum of marks scored by this, that should be equal to 28, but as per question this 28 should be equal to 560. That means it is on the multiple of 20. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the marks of A over here. We have to multiply this 5 by 20 and we will get 100 as my answer. That means the marks scored by A is equal to 100. Now let's consider the second equation. We have second equation as A plus C plus D, that is equals to 366 2 by 3% of B. If I want to convert 366 2 by 3% into fraction, I can break 366 2 by 3% as 300% plus 66 2 by 3%. And all we know, 100% can be written as 1 in the fraction. So I can write, okay, very good, Sham. I can write 300 as 3, right? And I can write 16 66 2 by 3 as 2 by 3, right? Now what we have to do, we have to simply take the LCM and we have to calculate the sum of 3 plus 2 by 3, that is equal to 9 plus 2 by 3, that means that is equal to 11 by 3. So I can write it like the marks scored by A plus C plus D, that is 11 by third part of B. So I can simply shift this B over here. What I'll get? I'll get A plus C plus D divided by B, that is equal to 11 by 3. So from this equation I can write, A plus B plus C plus D all together can score 14 marks. 11 plus 3, 14 marks. But we know they scored 560 marks. That means it is on the multiple of 40. That is on the multiple of 40. Now what we have to do, we have to multiply this 3 by 40 just to calculate the marks scored by B. So when we multiply 3 by 40, I'll get 120 marks. That means the marks scored by B is equal to 120. The marks scored by B, that is equal to 120. Here, by using two equations, or we can say with the help of two equations, we calculated the value of A as well as B. Now what we have to do, we have to solve our third equation. That says the marks scored by A, B, D and 40% of the marks scored by A, B and D, that is equal to C. So I can write it like, I can write this equation as the marks scored by A plus B plus D by C, that is equal to 100 by 40. I can write this equation it like this in this pattern. We have A plus B plus D and we have to calculate 40% of that which is equal to C. I can write this equation in this pattern. So when I solve this equation, I get the marks scored by A plus B plus C plus D together, that is equal to 14, but that is on the multiple of, that is 560, that is on the multiple of 40 again. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the marks scored by C. That means we have to multiply 4 by 40, that is equal to 160. So we can say that we have the value of A as 100 marks, value of B as 120 marks and value of C as 160 marks. And we have our final equation as A plus B plus C plus D is equal to 560. Now what we have to do, we simply have to put the values and calculate the value of D. So if I write the value of D, I can say 100 plus 120 plus 160 plus D, that should be equal to 560 according to question. So the value of D over here is 180. So the correct option is option number E. So the correct answer over here is option number E. Is it clear to everyone? How do we calculate all the values? How do we calculate all the values with the help of equations? Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear? Okay. Now let's move to the next question. Question number 6. The speed of a car is increased by 37.5% and it runs 16 by 3% time more than the previous one. Then it covers 116 kilometers more than the previous one. Find out the initial distance. What we have to do, we have to calculate the initial distance. While we are solving this question, we need to keep one formula in our mind, that is distance is equals to speed into time. We have to keep this formula in our mind while solving this question. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the initial distance. Very good, Chatterjee. Yes, the answer is correct. Now it is given that the speed of car is increased by 37.5%. I can write 37.5% as 3 by 8. That means if the initial value is 8, it is increased by 3. That means it will become 11. And the time is also increased by 16. 2 by 3%. That means it is equal to 1 by 6. Right? If the initial value is equal to 6, it will become 7. Now what we have to do, we have to write down the ratio of speed and time in old, or we can say the previous, or I can say the initial, and the new one, or I can say the latest one, right? If the speed is 8, it will increase by 3 and it will become 11. If the time taken by car is equal to 6, it is increased by 1 and it will become 7. Now we know distance equal to speed into time. So just to calculate the distance, what we have to do, we have to multiply these value. What I'll get 48 over here and I'll get 77 over here, right? This is nothing but this is the ratio of distance, right? This is the ratio of distance. Now it is given that when it covers or when it increases the speed or time, it covers 116 kilometers more than the previous one. That means what we have to do, first we have to find out the difference between 48 and 77. There's a difference of 29 here. But it is given that this value 29 is not equal to 29. This is equal to 116 because it covers 116 kilometers more than the previous one. That means the value of 29 that is equal to 116. That means it is present on the multiple of 4. Now what we have to calculate, if we have to calculate the initial distance, we have to multiply this value by 4 and I'll get my answer as 192 kilometers. That means option number E is the correct answer. Option number E is the correct answer, none of these. If I have to calculate the latest or the new distance, what I have to do? I have to multiply this value by 4 just to get the new or the latest distance. Just to get the new or the latest distance. Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear? Okay, now let's move to the next question. A spider climbs 60 to 1 by 2% of the height of the pole in 1 hour. In the next 1 hour, it covered 12 1 by 2% of the remaining height. If the height of the pole is 192 meter, then find the distance covered by spider in the second hour. What we have to do, we have to calculate the distance covered by spider in the second hour. In this question, we have a pole of height 192 meters. What is the correct answer of question number 7th? Okay. How do I write 62 1 by 2% in fraction? How do I write 62 1 by 2% in fraction? As we all know, I can write 12 1 by 2%, 12 1 by 2% as 1 by 8 in my fraction. So how do I write 62 1 by 2% in fraction? Very good, Saurav. Okay. If I break this value, what I can write? I can simply write it as 50 plus 12 1 by 2%, right? And I can write 50%. I can write 50% as 1 by 2, and I know the value of 12 1 by 2. So what I have to do, I have to add 1 by 2 and 1 by 8 together, and I'll take the LCM over here. The LCM of 2 and 8 is 8. That means the value of 62 1 by 2 in the fraction, that is equal to 5 by 8. That means the total height of the pole is in the multiple of 8, and spider covers the distance in the very first hour is in the multiple of 5. Now, if we talk about the first hour, or we can say in the 1 hour, in 1 hour, spider covers 5 points out of 8, and it is given that the value of 8 is equal to 192. That means it is present on the multiple of 24. Now what we have to do, if we want to calculate the distance covered by spider in the first hour or in the 1 hour, We have to multiply this value by 24 and I'll get 120 meters is my answer. That means in the 1 hour, spider will cover 120 meters out of 192 meters. So we are left with we are left with 192 minus 120. We are left with only 72 meters. We are left with only 72 meters. Now in the second hour, it will cover 1 by 8th part, or we can say the 1 part out of 8 in the second hour. In the second hour. In second hour, the value of 8 is nothing but 72. That is on the multiple of 9. That means in the second hour, it will cover only 9 meter distance. Only 9 meter distance. That means the correct option over here is option number D. That means the correct answer over here is option number D. वेरी गुड इवनिंग सर. हमारे साथ परन सर भी यहाँ पे जुड़े हुए हैं. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to calculate it, this distance covered by spider in the second hour, and that is equal to 9 meter. That is equal to 9 meter. Now let's move to the next question, question number 8. The value of variable x and y each is decreased by 20% in equation xy square. Then find out the overall decrement in the equation. What we have to do, we have to calculate the overall decrement in this equation xy square. Okay, very good, Chatterjee. Okay, here we have x, y, y, right? And we can write 20% as 1 by 5. And each variable is decreased by 20%. If the initial value is 5, it will become 4 after the decrement. So we simply write down the ratio in between the new and the old values. The value 5 will become 4 after the decrement. Similarly in y and in y square also. Now what we have to do, they are in equation, or we have to multiply all these variables just to get the equation xy square. So we multiply these values as well. We get 125 here and 64 here. There's a difference of 61. 61 over 125, and what we have to do, we have to multiply it by 100 just to calculate the answer, and the correct answer of this is 48.8%. 48.8%, that means the option number E is correct. Option number E is correct. Yes, it is actually 48.8%, right? It is 48.8%. If none of these is not given in this question, then you can go with option number C. If none of these is not given in this question, you can go with option number C, right? The actual answer of this question is 48.8%. there is a overall decrement of 48.8%. Is it clear? Is it clear? Okay. Now let's move to the question number 9. The price of Hotstar subscription is increased by 8.33%, but after some time, price is again decreased by 13%, and again increased by 22.5%. If the final price is rupees 147, then find out the initial price of the subscription in rupees. How do we calculate the initial price of the subscription? You can also consider Netflix in the place of Hotstar. Netflix or Amazon Prime. Very good, Chatterjee. Let's see. I can write 8 1 by 3% as 25 by 3%, right? And if I want to convert it into fraction, I can simply multiply 25 by 4 and 3 by 24 just to make it 100, and just to remove this percentage sign I can simply multiply it by 1 by 100 and I'll get my answer as 1 by 12. That means if the initial value of the subscription is 12, it is increased by 1 and it will become 13. Now again there's a decrement of 7 9 by 13%, and I can write 7 9 by 13% as 1 by 13 in the fraction. That means if the value of the subscription is 13, it will decrease by 1 and it will become 12 rupees, right? Now again there is a decrement of 22.5. 22.5%. Again there's an increment of 22.5%. That means I can write it as 10% plus 12.5%, right? And I can write it as 1 by 10 plus 1 by 8. So I simply take the LCM, and LCM is equal to 40. 4 plus 5, and it will become 9 by 40. 9 by 40. Congratulations, Anil, and this is a good move. Okay. So we simply converted our percentage into fractions, right? Now if we have to write down our old or new ratio, initially the price is increased by 1. So if the price is equal to 12, it is increased by 1 and it will become 13. Now in the second phase, it is decreased by 1 by 13. So if the original value is equal to 13, it is decreased by 1 and it will become 12, right? Now in the third time, it is increased by 9 by 40. That means if the initial price is equal to 40, it will become 49, right? So we can simply eliminate these values. Now we are left with just 40 and 49. So it is given that if the final price, that means we can say the new price or we can say the final price. Okay? If the final price is equal to 147, that means it is on the multiple of 3. Now what we have to do, we have to find out the initial price. Now what we have to do, we have to multiply this value by 3 just to get the initial value, and it is equal to 120 rupees. So the initial price of Hotstar subscription is 120 rupees. Is it clear? Is it clear? Clear? Okay. Now let's move to the next question. Question number 10th. A student secured 27% marks in an examination and he failed by 8 marks. In the same exam, another student secured 31% marks and he gets 12 more marks than minimum passing marks. Find out the minimum passing marks. What we have to do, we have to calculate minimum passing marks in the examination. Thank you so much, Sunny, for the feedback. How do I calculate the minimum passing marks? How do we calculate the minimum passing marks? Okay, if I draw this line as my minimum passing marks, as I draw this line as my minimum passing marks, it is given that one student secured 27% and he failed by 8 marks, right? If he secured 8 more marks, then he will be on this line, on the minimum passing marks. And we have one more student, very good Chatterjee, and we have one more student who secured 31% marks and he passed by 12 marks, right? Okay. Now if I'll find the difference between the percentage, it is 4%, and because this 4% will equal to the sum of these two. That means the value of 4% is nothing but 20 marks, or I can write it as 27% plus 8. This will become the minimum passing marks, and 31% minus 12 marks. This will also minimum passing marks. If we equate both these value, I get it at like 4% is equal to 20, or I can get my 1% value as 5. So if I have to calculate the maximum passing marks, if I have to calculate the maximum passing marks, that should be equal to 100%. That means that is equal to 500. But what we have to do, we have to calculate the minimum passing marks. So I can simply calculate either the value of 30%, 31% or 27%. If I calculated the value of 28%, what I have to do? I have to add 8 in that just to calculate the minimum passing marks. Or if I calculated 31%, what I have to do? I have to subtract 12 from that to calculate the minimum passing marks. So the value of 31% is easy. So I simply calculate the value of 31%, which is equal to 165. Which is equal to 165. Now what I have to do? I have to subtract 12 from this. I have to subtract 12 from this. Wait. It's 155. Wait, it's 155. And I'll get 143 as my minimum passing marks. So the correct option over here is option number D. So the correct option over here is option number D. Is it clear? Is it clear? Is it clear to everyone? Shall we move further? Okay. Now let's move to the next question. In an exam, a student secured 36 more marks than other one, and he also get 56% submissive on the both students. Then find out the marks of the student who secured more marks. Sure, Sunny. What we have to do, we have to calculate the marks of the student who secured more marks. How do we calculate this? Okay, Sham, let's see. Now it is given that we have two students. And let's suppose this one is A and this one is B. And it is given that the sum of both of these, that should be equal to 100%, or I can say it is equal to 100. And it is given that the one who secured the more marks gets 56% of submissive. That means If I calculate the 56% of 100, I'll get it equal to 56. The remaining value is equal to 44. If I'll find out the difference between in these two, that is equal to 12. But it is given that the student who secured more marks, it secured more marks by 36. That means the value of 12 is equal to 36. That is on the multiple of 3. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the marks of student who secured more marks. We have to multiply this term by 3 just to calculate the marks of the student who secured more marks, and that is equal to 168. That is equal to 168. That means option number D is the correct answer. That means option number D is the correct answer. A very good evening. Option number D is the correct answer. Is it clear? Is it clear? Now let's move to the, okay, one more time. Here it is given that we have two students, A plus B, and it is given that the one who secured more marks has get 65% submissive of the both students. So if we are talking about percentage, we can take the total submissive which is scored by both of them, that is equal to 100. Now the one who secured more marks will get 56% out of this. So if we calculate the 56% of 100, it will become 56. And the second one who secured less marks will get 44. The difference between these two, that is equal to 12. That means the one who secured more marks has 12 more marks. But in the quotient, it is equal to 36. That means the value of 12 is 36. That means it is on the multiple of 3. Now what we have to do, we have to calculate the marks scored by the student who secured more marks. Then what we have to do, we have to multiply it by 3 and we will get 168 as our answer. If we want to calculate the marks scored by the one who secured less marks, we simply multiply it by 3 and we will get 132 marks as my answer. So the correct option over here is option number D. So the correct answer over here is option number D, right? Now let's move to the last question of today's session. And after this, in tomorrow's session, we will study the concept of elections, right? There are 100 questions in a paper. A student attempt all the questions. For each right question, he gets 4 marks. And there were negative penalty of 1 marks for each wrong question. Finally, he secured 365 marks. Find out the number of right questions made by him. This is a very simple question. This is a very simple question. We have to calculate, or we have to find out the number of right questions made by him out of 100 questions. We can put allegations here. We can calculate answers. We can calculate this question with the help of allegation. Okay. There are total 100 questions, right? If he made all the questions as right, he will get 4 marks for each question. That means for 100 questions, he'll get 400 marks, right? If he attempt all question as wrong question, he will get -1 for each, and for 100 question he will get -100 marks. But he secured 365 marks. That means here we get the number of questions. We can simply simplify these values with with 7, and we will get 93 here and 7 here. That means the sum that is equal to 100, and here we have 100 questions, so they are multiple of 1. So the right question made by him, that is equal to 93. So the correct option over here is option number D. So the correct option over here is option number D. Very good, Sumar. This is our first method, right? This is our first method where we use allegations. We have second method as well. If we attempt one wrong question, how many marks he'll lose? The 4 marks which he'll get if he attempted right, and 1 more marks on the penalty. That means on attempting one question as wrong, he will get -5 marks, right? On attempting every wrong question, he'll get -5 marks, right? If he made all questions as correct, he will achieve 400 marks, but he only secured 365 marks. That means there is a difference of 35 marks. Now what we have to do, if we have to calculate the wrong questions attempted by him, what we have to do, we have to multiply the marks scored by every wrong question. So if we divide it by 5, we will get the number of questions which he attempted wrong. So if we subtract this value from the total number of questions, we will get the answer which he made right, or we can say he attempted right in the examination. So the correct option over here is 93. The correct option over here is 93. Is it clear? Is it clear? The correct answer over here is 93, not 91. Is it clear to everyone? Okay, let's end this session here only. We will study some concept of elections in the next lecture, which is held tomorrow at the 7 p.m. on the same timing. Till then, keep smiling, stay safe, bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching this session, and good night to all of you.